They go, yeah.
They'll switch to Netflix. There's too many entertainment options. So I was sitting there, like, the first time it happened, what can I do? And I looked over at my backpacks of the gear that runs on Speedify. You paid for a year of it. You can use it on any computer or device. So I just pulled out my one of several hotspots I have, hooked it up, cranked up Speedify, and it has never been a problem since.
We used the Speedify software at a command line level, so it's not running a whole UI which is starting to drain resources. It's really very, very base level. And the really clever people at the BBC got it all working, and we're now presenting whole programs every single day of the year have been presented using this technology. All our weather reports from our weather presenter are done already.
If I look back at my original lives, they are awful. They're terrible. But we all start somewhere and we all get better. And every time you go live and every time you get on camera, you're going to get a little bit more comfortable.
You saw part of
Really?
it? Cool.
Nice. All right, we are famous. You want to say hi to everybody? Now you're on the video. So wave. That's the camera right there. Nice. All right. We are going back to look at this guy's house. It has a lot of white lights.
There he is. Hey, Christian.
Hi.
And a telly light on the back so you can see when it's how it's live.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so these lights do have RGB mixing, so if you want to do each color, you can mix them independently. Within the app, there are a couple features, and I'll just go show you this.
See power. There we go.
Woo! Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Is just building budget aesthetic gaming PCs, and I have my studio here now, so we've graduated away from the basement of my house and whatnot.
Also, I would say streaming kept me from going completely insane when I was in that hotel room for 2 weeks when I first got to Australia.
So raising awareness is really going to help break that stigma. We definitely have a stigma in our society where it's, not okay for folks to be open about their medical conditions. It's kind of seen as shameful.
All of us have these amazing cameras, Apple, Samsung, Google.
We have customers come in all the time who say, oh, I watched this stream and I came in from out of town and I knew we had to stop here.
We build custom PCs for a lot of content creators, gamers, you name it, businesses, colleges, esports.
And then I do a lot of thought leadership talking and trying to educate the industry on the value of techifying, as I call it, their events, and been doing that for a long time.
The first 2 years of live streaming was actually just myself. I was kind of acting as a community manager.
You know what? I never used to think that people wanted to cared about what I wanted to say, but now I'm like, you know what?
I care, Gina.
You've got to put it out there. You've just got to put it out there, and someone will listen.
I used to actually be solely mobile, so I used to teach people how to edit using KineMaster, which is just a mobile app. Really, really cool app.
But I love the process of both. I love the editing process, the scripting process, and things like that of recorded videos. But nothing for me also beats the buzz that you get from pressing the go live button.
Welcome. I'm your host, Alex Gizis, and this is
Brian Van Don.
That's right. And this is Speedify Live, kind of unplanned episode. Thought we should just show you some of the toys we're playing with, and maybe send Brian on a roof. So here we go. So this is the live stream about live streaming. We often interview people in the industry and, famous live streamers. But right now we are really obsessed with Starlink and how to stream over Starlink.
What's Starlink?
What is Starlink? So it is an internet service provided by satellites in low Earth orbit. So they're 342 miles up, which interestingly makes them 90 miles above the International Space Station. But that's still pretty low. So they are whizzing by. This is not the old-fashioned satellite internet where there is one satellite in geosynchronous orbit sitting over the equator so you could point your dish at it. No, these satellites are whizzing by, and through smart electronics, it looks like a dish, but it's actually, a whole series of little MIMO antennas that are trying to tune in on the satellites as they zip by. More than 3,000 satellites up there. And yeah, this is a SpaceX product, right? Elon Musk's company, one of his many companies. And it's interesting because it's sort of awesome and sort of not, right? I mostly lean towards awesome, right? I mean, on a good day, you get more than 100 megabits. There's satellite overhead. They're not very busy. But if there's no satellite overhead, you might get 50 or 2 megabits or lose signal for a minute because 3,000 satellites, but they're whizzing by all over the Earth. And I mean, it's awesome in that, like, people on ships and stuff are getting internet for the first time. People on RVs are able to drive in the middle of the desert, stop, turn this thing on, and they're on the internet with 50 or 100 megabits, or even 2 megabits. You're in the middle of the desert. You're in the middle of the ocean. It's kind of awesome. So that's super cool. It
can be flaky.
But it can be flaky. And this is where we see, all these Reddit forums where people are saying, what should I do? Because my Starlink is so unreliable. And people tell them, you should use it with Speedify. Both Speedify's, smart error correction stuff can fix a lot of little glitches. And if you can combine it even with a really slow internet. So a lot of people are saying, don't cancel your DSL when the Starlink comes. Use the DSL, even if it's just 1 megabit, plus the Starlink with Speedify. Now you're not going offline, even if there's no satellite overhead. So this got us really obsessed. The other thing that got us obsessed was it UFD Tech? Those guys put a Starlink dish on the roof of their car, and I think 2 tethered cell phones, 3 tethered cell phones, and drove across the country. And in some places the Starlink was the only working internet, and in plenty of places it didn't work, but some of the cell phones worked. And so between them, they managed to basically drive all the way across the United States, streaming video with just a couple little dropouts here and there, and in tunnels and mountains, and just a few weird spots. But all in all, it was kind of amazing and got us thinking, how could we do this with Speedify? So we are in the midst of stuff, and it's going to get better and better. So I'll just show you a few things off my desktop. Is this going to work? All right. So here are a few things we're looking at. Over here, right in the center, we have Speedify. So Speedify, I got to remember to click on the actual window, not the video image of it. Here is using 3 different internet connections. I'm connected to Comcast, I'm connected to Starlink on Wi-Fi, and I also have my iPhone connected here. So, I don't know, a bunch of them are doing just fine. Over here, I've got the network statistics off of Starlink, and this stuff we fixed in the last release. The Starlink, you can't get to the statistics if you're running a VPN unless it's Speedify. So we've now got a clever route so that if you go to dishy.starlink.com/statistics, you will get, as long as you're on your Starlink, to your Starlink stats. And it's cool. You can see uptime graph. You see there's a glitch there, right? There was a moment there at 4:07 where in fact our Starlink just stopped working for less than a minute and then went back to working. Latency, not bad. I mean, in the old days, satellite internet, you think 1,000, 2,000 milliseconds. But no, we're seeing 50 milliseconds. It's like cellular or something. And that is the actual dish, known as Dishy. It's set on our roof here, City of Philadelphia in the background. That's cool. So we put up a camera pointed at the dish. And
why did we do that?
Why?
Well.
Why do I do anything, Ryan? I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time. So Speedify, obviously, it's our bonding VPN, combines multiple internet connections, giving you massive increases in reliability. So yeah, we want to understand what people are doing. I mean, all these people were talking about, using Speedify with Starlink and how much better it made Starlink. Because they glitch, they fall out, they lose packets, latency goes up and down. Yeah, so there are a million Starlink users. They were talking about us. We managed to get one. So this one's actually an RV unit, because the truth is, City of Philadelphia is considered not covered yet territory. So they wouldn't sell us one for our building, but they sold us one for use on our recreational vehicle. It's just a very large, very slow recreational vehicle. And we put it on our roof. So, all right. The rainwater on that roof is probably nicer than Philly's tap. All right. Got some haters out here today. If I bad. Remote workers, people traveling the world on boats. It's so amazing, the world of Starlink users. Yeah. I mean, this is people doing interesting things, wandering around in deserts, on mountaintops, in oceans. They've got a new service for airplanes for $15,000 a month. You can put an antenna they have an antenna like this meant to be mounted on the outside of your airplane. Yeah, that's a more expensive service, but it sounds really cool, right? All right. So, should we talk about our setup, or do you want to show our setup?
I think we go show our setup.
All right. So I'm going to sit here for a while, and
yeah, I guess you could talk more about how we're working on testing Starlink, and we'll go take the camera to the roof.
All right, we're gonna send Ryan to the roof in the rain by himself. Why? All right. So we'll see, Ron. We are rapidly working on improving things.
I'm in the live streaming channel.
Massive
So
you can just message me in the live streaming channel
all day. Yeah, some of the performance things with Starlink is funny. If you send a lot of data through it, it'll start losing all sorts of packets and things. So we're still testing. This is an experiment. This is we are gathering logs here as we go. But clearly the reliability boost grant is huge. All right. So got Starlink on the roof. Actually have an Ethernet cable. Okay. My head's kind of in the way here. Here we go. Do you see this? Over here. See my pointer? That black line? That's the Ethernet cable off the satellite dish, running down the front of the building, 3 stories, in through our balcony, underneath the fire escape door. Are we using a dedicated server or just the regular service with your test setup? Oh, that's a good question. I am right now using a dedicated server. Not sure how big difference it makes. But yes, I am using dedicated server. Does the Starlink move to find satellites? It does. But in this gross sense, I mean, gross and large, right? If you are in the northern hemisphere, it tries to point north-ish. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it tries to point south-ish, because it'll see the most satellites going by that way. So it pivots itself that way. But it's not, you won't see it move while satellites go by. It's just moving to try to get the best view of the sky it can. And then it stops. And the stuff as satellites go by is entirely electronic. So I tune the phase of the different... Holy cow trumpets! Hey Alex, very cool. Christina, former employee. How you doing, Christina? We've missed you. Sure. So Ron's saying he'd like to see us do it with regular service customers are using. I'm sure it does make difference, otherwise a huge price difference. It's the interesting thing. Yeah, we should try both. I don't think it'll make that big a difference, because we're shooting for 4.5 megabits here. All right, I hear Ryan is ready. Producer want to bring him in? Oh, did we miss him climbing to the roof? All right, so Ryan is on the roof. Nice. All right. So there's the Starlink. And see where it is not the only antenna on this roof. We keep going. We keep going. There are so many antennas. It turns out, the cellular carriers or whatever are all using our roof as a tower. And there's the Ethernet, that black line there. The dark gray line. The dark gray line. He's going to fall off the roof, Ryan. All right, there you see. It's running down the front of the building, into our balcony where we have the nice plants. So we're on the 3rd floor, and Trilogy nightclub is underneath us, for those who do. And cool. Yes, there we are. Oh, and that's the camera, right? So that's the camera that I'm showing here, right? Got the camera catching the antenna, capturing them. All right. So super cool, Ryan. So that is our setup. Antenna, camera pointed at antenna, camera pointed at camera, pointed at antenna. So this is our setup. All right. So I guess the light gray cable going over the front was the camera. The dark gray cable is the Starlink. Now we've got cable tied at each floor. There's a cable tied to a fixed object. That's not all that weight hanging. It's not flapping in the wind. So cool. All right. I tell Ryan to come back. What did you go through to add the Starlink to the roof? First, we asked our landlord if it was okay. And they said yes. After asking a few questions, making sure that things would be secured. Yeah, that's it. So although Starlink sells all these expensive stands for it, it turns out it fits a standard speaker stand. The ones they use for shows at clubs and stuff. So lots of audiovisual places sell stuff for mounting speakers that in fact work absolutely fine with the Starlink. It's held down with sandbags. We happen to own lots of sandbags for a variety of reasons. And then, cable ties. And also we're using safety cables. Big fan of safety cables. There's steel cables with carabiners on the end. So you can click something and make sure it doesn't go flying off the roof, even if the winds are strong enough to move your sandbag. Solar Lights in the studio have them. I highly recommend, if you're hanging anything from anything, look up a safety cable. Buy some safety cables. People should just have them. Make sure things don't fall. All right, so I guess Ryan's on his way back down. I really wanted him to film so you could see the terrifying ladder over the abyss you need to climb to get to the roof. Oh. There we go. That's our stairwell. We share our stairwell with a nightclub. Graffiti artwork. On your way to our secure safe. All right. Here's the cable coming in. Where is it? There it is. The two cables. They come in by the plants, under the fire door. So the white rectangle there is the Starlink router. The big gray is a gaming PC I bought last night. All right. So true story. Speedify Babs. P.S. I did the roof ladder first, and it isn't that bad. She went upstairs. She went up the ladder. She went on the roof, said, this isn't so bad. Came back down and said, oh, there's a ladder to the roof. So I went up the stairs. I got to the ladder. I said, this thing is terrifying. I am not going on that ladder. And I came back down. And she told me that she had gone up the ladder. So, not wanting to be defeated, not wanting to admit that I was scared to go up the ladder where other people here weren't. I had to go back up the stairs, climb the ladder, overcoming my fear of heights so that no one would know that I was scared of things that Babs wasn't. That was awesome. Thank you. All right. This is Christina. Has Ryan been drawing on the walls again? We should let you draw on the walls. You're a very talented artist, and whoever did that made the stairs pretty cool. All right. All right. So should we show what you did now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Ryan, then I got him that gaming PC last night, and then he started installing software on it. There we go. Talk about what you did here, Ryan.
So this is our live feed of the Starlink satellite dish, and basically our setup is the Starlink itself, and then we have a power over Ethernet camera on the roof that you saw, and the streaming software we're using on this new computer, which is an Asus ROG Strix G10 CE. The core of the stream is OBS, and we're using this plugin called the Advanced Scene Switcher to control switching through all the different layouts that we have. And we're using another plugin called the OBS WebSocket 4.x Compat plugin, and that lets us open up a WebSocket that we can connect the Streamlabs chatbot too. And so we're using two different chatbots. We're using Stream Elements and Streamlabs chatbots so that people can control OBS scenes with the chatbot, as well as get more info in the chat from the Stream Elements chatbot. And we're also using Stream Elements for alerts. And we have a Python script set up that's connected to the Speedify CLI so that we can run OBS hotkeys to switch scenes like this every time there's a change in the connections or the Starlink and Speedify performance.
Yes, I actually wrote that thing. So that Speedify has a command line interface where you can, write programs to talk to Speedify. You get back JSON objects. And I wrapped in Python, which you can find at the Speedify-py project on GitHub. And so I wrote a little script that, what it does is it's constantly asking Speedify what's going on. Is the Starlink working? Is Speedify connected? Things like that. And then based on it, it fakes key presses. Control-Alt-U, for instance, every time Speedify connects, sending that to OBS. And then OBS has that hotkeys feature. It's kind of neat if you haven't seen settings, hotkeys in OBS. There's a list of basically every feature in the app, and next to a little text box. And so if you choose one of the text box and then do Control-Alt-U, then from then on, whenever OBS gets Control-Alt-U, it'll immediately add a feature. And so every scene you create is listed, so you can switch between scenes just by sending the right key presses. And so here we are. So these graphs, we're using OBS's browser component and hitting dishy.starlink.com/statistics.
As well as the Speedify browser embed.
Right, and the Speedify is a browser as well. Turns out Speedify on Windows is actually a web page. It's a little more complicated on Mac OS, but on Windows, if you know the right secret URL, and you can embed the whole UI in a browser.
And all of that is going out to Restream Studio, which is how we're going live right now.
All right, shout out to Ryan for making sure the camera doesn't pick up the amazingly loud sounds outside. Yeah, it's really loud.
Scott set up the PoE camera.
Yeah, we sent Scott through. All right, Ben wants to take advantage of our 2-year subscription rate, but have been subscribed monthly through the Apple App Store. What is the best way to do this? Why don't you shoot an email to support@speedify.com? I think maybe you need to cancel on Apple and then buy off our website. But shoot an email to support@speedify.com and we'll help you out. All right. So, will you be testing different connections, or is the stream to show how the Starlink works? So, it's both. I mean, the stream is, in fact, testing it out. Oh, look, Starlink is back online. Oh. So, yeah, you see the connectivity of the Starlink is flickering. And when it goes out, we've got it set to, in fact, go use our Comcast cable modem. So I expect this will be much more reliable than the actual Starlink. But we're getting logs to tell us just how reliable it really is. And we do plan on experimenting with lots of different settings and stuff. There was some question of it shows a lot of packet loss. So right now, Speedify, especially in streaming mode, tends to do an awful lot of redundant mode of just assigning, oh, this thing stinks. Let me send the packets on both the Comcast and the Starlink. Sorry. But it looks to me like maybe we're doing it too much. Well, maybe I'm not. Given how much is going online and offline, maybe Speedify is doing exactly the right thing. And yeah. Just said, I wish Speedify helped, but so far my experience is when I connect more than one slow connection, my speeds are always slower than any of them alone. It's funny. I mean, you're not the only person to report that, but in general, we see pretty linear adding on those slow connections. If they're similar, right? I mean, if one connection is 10 times faster than another, then adding that slow connection is no help at all, right? That's a particular case that we can see. Yeah, we don't help if, adding a 1 megabit connection to a 100 megabit connection, not helping anybody. All right. So we're gonna run this at least till tomorrow. Eventually, I think we're planning to just leave this running and see how things go. But all right. Yeah, so setting up OBS was very, very complicated. You did an amazing job. I mean, look at this.
It does a lot more than it looks like it's doing. The hardest part was like figuring out how to get the chat to control scenes well. But we have a few commands set up now, and we're going to set up more. If you type !zoom into chat, it should zoom into the camera.
Why don't you do that? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Good job, Quack Galaxy. So Ron says your Starlink is reporting way higher latency and dropouts than mine. Maybe it's because there's less users here in the UK. Could be. I actually tend to think it might be the opposite. Philadelphia is not a supported region yet. If you look in the map, this is like a light blue region, not a dark blue, or vice versa. Like if you say you want one for your house and you put in this address, they say service isn't available yet. So, but I said, I have a recreational vehicle and this is my address. And they said, no problem, we'll get it right to you. And they got it to me 3 days later and it works. But it may be that, they have service level standards where, it works here, but it doesn't work well enough that they're willing to put their name on it. So some of this may be, I mean, if they could sell here, I think they would sell here, right? So there must be something they know about. Does Starlink work best in cities, suburbs, or rural areas? So one, I think I'm imagining Starlink works best in areas that Starlink says their service. So, hey, let's give them that. The most important thing is it wants a full view of the sky. It wants to see, everything north of it if you're in the northern hemisphere, everything south of it. These things operate at sort of 12 to 40 gigahertz. I mean, these are really high frequencies. Wi-Fi is at 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. They announced that, the next couple of years, they're going to start using 6 gigahertz too. And people are worried about how short range that it will be and whether or not it'll be able to get through walls. So Starlink's up at 12 gigahertz at the bottom, all the way up to 40 gigahertz. These are frequencies that have trouble making it through a sheet of paper or a leaf. So, a tree in the way will block the signal. So you definitely want to get, as much sky as you can, right? Up on a roof, and so if you're out in the country, I think there are probably spots where you can just, set it on a table and see that much sky, right? Here in Philly, you have to make it to the roof, and in some places.
Yeah, you couldn't get it to work at your house, right?
Yeah, well, my house, there's a 1-story kitchen, and I put it there, and it was complaining that the higher part of the main house was blocking some of the sky, and it didn't work very well. But then the main part of my house, the roof is tilted enough that I have never gone out there. I let professional roofers go out there, and and I was not going to try to go on that roof to put this antenna. You know, if it was a permanent thing, I would have hired a roofer to bolt it to my roof. But this was more of an experiment, so it didn't work at my house. I probably could have made it work at my house if I were willing to pay the roofer to mount it correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
Even on our office roof, this one still gets partially obstructed by like the stairwell entrance and all the other antennas that we have up there.
All right. Put a Starlink on top of the Comcast building. So over on the right side of the image, the two tallest buildings that are next to each other there are both Comcast buildings. Right? Comcast just dominates the skyline. They have the tallest building and the second tallest building. Somewhere right in the center, you should see City Hall. Do we see City Hall?
Yeah.
Somebody zoom! Exclamation
Yeah,
point zoom! Somebody put that in the comments, please.
There we go.
There we go.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. I don't know if you can see it. It's a third of the way over from the right. Pointed building, statue on top. So that's Thomas Penn. Who was he?
William Penn.
William Penn. I don't know nothing. So that's William Penn. The statue of him. And for years the rule was that you couldn't build anything taller than him. And then they decided, well, you just can't block his view of the river. So this is why, the buildings to the left, towards his view of the river, get shorter than the ones that are behind him. They put the skyscrapers behind William Penn. But Comcast, when they built the tallest building in the city, they wanted to make sure they didn't bring bad luck on themselves. So they, I'm not kidding here, had a 3-inch statue of William Penn made. And they went to the tallest point on the building and they welded him to the top. So the top of the highest building in Philly is in fact statue of William Penn. So I think a couple of the buildings here, I think pretty much every building that at some point was the tallest building in Philly has a little tiny statue of him welded to the top. Yeah. I believe there are still mini statues of William Penn on some of the taller buildings. Yeah, I think there are. All right. What's the thing in the sky? Thing in the sky.
Thing?
A cloud? The sun? I mean, there's one of those old microwave antennas. That's right. Comcast correcting bad juju. And then the Phillies were able to win.
Try typing !UFO.
What was that? Yes. This is all right. So if you type, and somebody do it, !commands, it'll show the full list of commands. So I don't know. Quiet Galaxy, you want to do that? A link. It's just a link. Darn it. Okay. Oh, anyway. What else we have here? Yeah, so a couple different commands. I love that. Cracks me up. Yeah, so we're just gonna hang out here. We're just gonna leave this up all night. I guess out of the video we'll get a kind of cool time lapse, and the logs, so we can characterize what all is going on here with the internet and how well it's working. And those graphs are not really that flat, are they? Fair amount of jumping around. So cool. Ooh, Ron says it just started snowing here in the UK, so I get to test my Starlink's built-in snow melting feature. Yeah, it has a built-in snow melting feature, and the interesting thing from people who have taken them apart is there's no heater in it. So how does it work? Apparently, it just turns up the signal. It just turns its radios
Generates enough heat on its
to higher power to generate enough heat to melt the snow off. So yeah, do test it, Ron. Tell us how it works.
I'm excited for it to snow here so we can get a time lapse of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'll see it like piling up and melting off. And do you think the clouds are stopping the Starlink from having a stable connection? I don't think so, although I certainly don't have enough data yet to combine the weather. I mean, right, the old DirecTV thing, you certainly heard when the weather got bad, they lost signal. I'm not sure what frequency they're on. You know, I know 2.4 gigahertz has issues. Well, supposedly, right? I mean, so they, you know, all the physics books tell you 2.4 gigahertz, where the old Wi-Fi is, really gets affected by water. Yeah. That said, I've actually done it, taken an umbrella and a laptop and gone outside in the rain to see how far I can go before I lose signal. And I've done it on nice days and I've done it on rainy days. And, you know, if the line moves by 3 feet, I don't think it does. I get to the exact same spots whether it's raining or not. So much for the physics textbooks. Yes, I do things like that. I read that water shortens the range of Wi-Fi, and so I get an umbrella and I go out in the rain. And I mark how far I can get from my house. I do these things all the time. You know, what are you gonna do? It's the only way to actually, you know if you know stuff or if you're just fooling yourself. All right. And it took me a while to figure out. So the dish, this is weird, right? The dish in the northern hemisphere wants to point north, and the southern hemisphere wants to point south. You know why? It took me a long time to figure it out. It's a geometry problem. So the Earth is spinning on its axis, and the satellites are actually going around the Earth, each one in a ring. They're not actually going, they're just going around. But they're going around at a different speed and tilted at a different angle than the Earth is spinning. Right? They're not going around the same axis. They're going around the center of the Earth, but not on the same axis the Earth is spinning. So from the point of view of someone on the Earth, what we see is that the satellites go up and down, kind of in a sine wave. Except if you're in the northern hemisphere, you can't see the bottom of the sine wave where the satellite turns around in the southern hemisphere. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, you can't see all the way up to the North Pole where the satellite seems to turn around. It's not really turning around. Just, it's going in a ring and we're going in a different ring. And so it looks like it turns around. So if you're in the northern hemisphere and you point north, you capture the spot where in the optical illusion it seems like the satellite's turning around. So it spends more time to the north of you. Totally weird, right? It's just a geometry thing. The satellite, it's not turning around. It's just going around in a circle, and we're going around in a circle, but they're on different tilts.
Yeah. I guess relative to you, it's moving in a parabola north.
That's right. So that's what you see. And if you watch across the equator, there you see it going straight, which basically it's because there's no optical illusion there. So it seems like it's zipping straight away from you. Yeah, kind of strange thing. Here's another question. So Starlink has snow covered, but what about excessive heat? I bet nobody knows. Well, no. It's summer in Australia. Somebody in Australia knows. I don't know. And these things are sitting in the sun. Sitting in the sun in the desert. Things get so
It's probably the reason it's white.
Do you know why Tesla's added the feature that if your car is parked and the temperature gets above 100 degrees, the fans kick in? And they said it was in case you left a pet or a child in the car to protect them. That is not why they did it. They did it because that giant screen on the dash of the Tesla, it is not made to automotive standards. If it gets to 130 degrees, it can get damaged, and they do get damaged all the time. Nobody makes a screen that large that's tough enough to go in an automobile. So Tesla, when they first put it in, they were having screens fail left and right, and they knew they had violated the spec. So they built this in to turn on the fans to stop it from overheating in order to, because stop the screen that's under warranty from breaking. It was breaking because they did violate the spec. So, another cool thing. I'm not an Elon Musk hater. There's a lot of clever stuff that comes. I mean, this stuff is pretty amazing. The electric cars, they're very much happening because of him. All right. I almost like seeing that someone as brilliant as him is just as flawed as me. There's hope for me. Which is probably not the way most people see it. I read that Hofstadter book, The Secrets of the Founding Fathers, telling all the terrible things about the Founding Fathers. A lot of people were really upset by the book, but when I read it, I was like, man, if they managed to, start the country and write the Constitution despite all that stuff, maybe I can accomplish something. I'm not that much worse than you guys. But I guess
a really positive
I think I do have a positive attitude, but not everyone sees it that way. So that's cool. All right. So we're going to leave this. We're super interested in suggestions. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at that. The light's turning on in the city. Holy cow, we stayed live long enough. Right? So this red guy in the center, right underneath the back, that's the PSFS building, which was once upon a time the Philadelphia Savings and something. The company failed 70 years ago, but people liked the sign so much they just maintain it. There is no PSFS. There hasn't been, for decades. But, that sign is iconic, so they just maintain it.
It's a hotel now.
Yeah. Oh man, the skyline is getting awesome looking. Nice, thanks for the zoom. Right, so the pointed building, so I guess third building in, that's Liberty 1. The pointed one without the antenna next to is Liberty 2, which are attached to the base. There's a single shopping mall uniting those two buildings. I hear there's now a observation deck at the top of one of them.
It's Liberty 2, yeah.
Liberty 2. But it's like so much. I don't remember what the cost was when I saw the price of it. I was like, what the hell? It's not to be negative, but I didn't go. No more observation deck. Because of COVID. Yeah, I guess not. I guess everything closed because of COVID. Unless you go to City Hall. I've never been to the top. Can you go to the top of City Hall?
Mm-hmm.
I was actually at a party in City Hall. A place. There's some gorgeous rooms in there. Okay, underneath William.
Used to be the tallest building in the world.
Really?
Yeah. Like at the turn of the 20th century.
All right. Yeah, so St. Peter's Church is near my house. And there's a story about when John Adams first arrived in Philadelphia. He climbed to the top of their steeple because it was the tallest building in Philadelphia. Yeah, it's, 6 stories or something. It's kind of tall. I guess it was tall for, pre-Revolutionary War. That was, who knows, could have been the tallest building in the United States or something, for all I know. But yeah, he got to the biggest city in the United States and climbed the tallest building there. That's the first thing he did. Nice little church there. Right. I missed it. Did the UFO come? Must have. UFO. No Streamlabs. It doesn't work if you're on YouTube?
Yeah, you got to do it in Twitch.
Oh, it only works in Twitch. I'm sorry, call me V. All right.
I'll have to try and make it work on YouTube too.
We will. There it is. It's so awesome. So what things would you like to see? Are there more stats you'd like to see? More types of aliens, more commands? Drop them in the comments.
I think it'd be cool to get some Cabana graphs in there.
Ah, the Cabana graphs. Yes, well, Will thinks he'll get the fix to Speedify to make the Cabana graphs work checked in tomorrow. So we may go briefly offline tomorrow to upgrade to a Speedify 12.8 that's coming very, very soon. That lets us show more graphs, and then we'll pop more graphs into here. So that didn't quite make it. It's talking about the for those who are watching the graphs I've shown when during the bike rides, times where we bike rided and went on bike rides and showed the graphs of how things were going as they rode the bikes. It was a special one-off build to Speedify, but we're trying to get that stuff into real Speedify so we can do it. Can you do some speed tests? Yeah, I mean, I guess walk over there and
on Speedify or on Starlink.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the trick is the video is actually going across it. So if he does it, he's likely to mess up our video. But I mean, if you guys all know that that's what he's doing,
Yeah, let's give it a try.
all right, we'll try it. So this is probably a terrible idea, background show, but we're gonna do it because you asked. So built-in Speedify is some speed testing stuff. It's iPerf 3. For those who are into such things, not pretending otherwise. iPerf 3 is built into Speedify and the Speedify server, so we can run these kind of open source speed tests. We added some brains for some interpretation to make it understand, their true connections and things, but it really is just iPerf that we run across it. All right. I assume it'll be obvious when Ryan fires it up and breaks everything. Maybe he's waiting for it to come back around. Or maybe he broke everything already. Oh, I think we're probably running a speed test. There we go. You saw everything glitching. Very much looked. Let's get rid of me. How do we get rid of me? I was kind of covering the results there. How are you connecting two Ethernet connections? We're using one Ethernet built into the computer, and then I have a USB 3 gigabit Ethernet connection just in one of the USB ports. Anyway, USB 3 is fast enough, 3.2 or something, to handle gig speeds. And of course, this is just tens of megabits. Yeah, how do we? Very hard to see. It clearly decided to pretty much just use the Comcast for that test. Or it got so much speed out of the Comcast that in the shrunken graph, that's all I see. I do like how the video glitches a little bit when he runs the test. You can tell we're not making this up. We really are sabotaging ourselves. Man, look at that. The city is golden. Golden. All right. Man, Philly looks so nice at this distance. I didn't say that.
I know Scott tweaked the camera settings a little bit.
Yes. Jensen Droots. Wow, thanks, Will. That's right. Yeah, because Will is going to fix this up for us, get us more graphs. Oh my God, stop using the USB to Ethernet adapter. I was using one and it introduced extra jitter into your live streams. I bought a second network card on my PC and it went away. We can test that. We can beat up on it some. Yeah, this computer, I just, I went to Micro Center and said, what's the best computer I can get for less than $1,000? So I spent $850. And yeah, seems like a decent machine. It's got some kind of NVIDIA graphics card.
How was that?
Well, it ended up very shrunken here, so it was hard to see the result. It was very obvious it was mostly using the Comcast, right? So it was putting more than 400 megabits on the Comcast, which left whatever it was getting from Starlink as small enough that it was hard for me to tell what it was. All right, so yeah, Macron shows very negative on the USB Wi-Fi adapters, and decent chance he's right. She, I have no idea. All right. What else? Anyone have any other questions? I think we may kind of go away and just leave this on for those who want to chill. Maybe it's prioritizing Comcast because the Starlink keeps going offline. Yes. So Speedify does remember. It doesn't remember the stats for long, but it looks at what's happened for the last couple minutes. So yeah, if it's gone offline the last couple minutes, Speedify's gonna. I don't trust that guy very much. It's been dropping packets in the last couple minutes. Speedify said, I don't trust that guy so much. It doesn't remember across days or anything. Like just because it was good yesterday, it means nothing to it. But if it's been good for the last 2 minutes, it's probably pretty good.
We have them both on automatic right now.
All right. Brian, who probably has this on a bigger screen than I do because I have so much stuff, says, looked like the Starlink was doing about 1 megabit during your last speed test. Is that what you were saying? It's not great. Yeah, so we're trying to send 4.5 megabits of video here. Which, by the way, right, obviously so that's a margin of error on these speed test results, because in addition to what the speed test was trying to send, we were also trying to jam in an extra 4.5 megabits of pixels here to show the city skyline and the user interface running the speed tests. So, margin of error. We should probably do some scientific tests without a live stream going and fill a spreadsheet. Maybe show you guys a graph of that later. Alrighty. Anything else, Ryan?
Nope.
All right. So we're just going to leave this running. We're looking for feedback. We'll play some music while we're not here. And, you know, I think our plan is to more or less leave this running for like the next month or two. Yeah, we'll take it offline when we think we have new versions of Speedify, when we have new animations. And, yeah, things like that we'll keep upgrading. I did notice last Thursday, Starlink suddenly got support for IPv6, which is really interesting. There was that outage, right? I don't know if anyone has Starlink last Wednesday, last Thursday, whatever it was, where all the Starlinks in the world stopped working for 45 minutes, then went back to working. When they came back to working, they seem to have IPv6 now.
We're going to be using slip.stream for the music.
Edward says, "Is your friend single?" Is that Ryan? Is he asking, is Ryan single? Are you single?
No, I am not.
So who is she or he? I'm not.
Her name is Jill.
Wow! Holy cow! You're here first. All right. Macron shows us. Thanks for doing this. Interesting stuff. All right, Daniel. Sorry about smashing your account this morning, but I think we got it fixed. Yeah, it's just got interesting. Get Christina back. Sure, she'd love to hear. All right, so now we're going to chill mode. I'll be popping in, checking the comments and stuff. But I think we're just gonna
like, comment, and subscribe. And
like,
follow.
comment, subscribe, follow. You know, and you know, if you're on, you know, YouTube seems to be the best. The bots and the commands only work on YouTube.
Twitch right now.
On Twitch, I'm sorry. Right. Okay.
But on YouTube, we have all of our VODs from past streams and tutorials. So
yeah, we have a lot of content on YouTube. You know, Twitch, they don't stay there forever. But YouTube, we have full streams. In some cases, we edited them down to make smaller, more watchable ones. For those of you who missed it, you know, I don't know. I kind of like those better. I mean, I love being live and interacting with the audience, but if you're not live, probably the edited versions are sometimes. All right. Daniel says, I saw it's using a connection speed more than the other for the stream. Any ways to choose which one to be preferred, even if both are primary? The main way to choose one to prefer is to make one not primary, right? You mark one as secondary. And that's the very definition of not primary. So there are priorities in Speedify. This work?
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah. Oh, it's the other way work. What am I doing? Right. So every connection has what we call a priority. And right now, right, I have both my Comcast and my Starlink set to primary, meaning use them all you want. Speedify, up to you. And the cellular is set to secondary, which means I'd rather you use a little less, but go ahead and use it if you want. There's some more choices. There's backup, which says really only use this to keep me online if the other ones aren't working, and never. It means don't use it at all, which is usually just done when people have very strange setups and one of their internet connections is really a virtual machine or something strange like that. So, yeah, usually people know what they did to get a setup that strange. Yeah, the more we play around with 5, 6, 7 internet connections at a time, sometimes I start to think that maybe there should be one more between primary and secondary, for the like it's almost primary. But for most people with 3 different levels, it's probably right without making it crazy. Yeah. Yeah, right now the Starlink is not really being used for upload. It's only getting megabit.
Yeah, we have it in speed mode without enhanced streaming right now. Earlier we were testing it in streaming mode.
All right.
And kept switching to redundant.
Edward is trolling, but I'm going to go ahead and answer anyway. Your glasses are just thick enough to peer through a child's bedroom window in the dead of night. Can you tell us where you got them? Yes. So I got these glasses at Eye Encounters right across the street from City Hall. And the interesting thing is, they had first been ordered by Pierre Robert. So Philly people say, holy cow, Pierre Robert, a real celebrity, and the rest of you have probably never heard of him. He is one of the greatest, most famous DJs in Philadelphia. Super cool guy. I've been a celebrity here for decades. He's kind of one of those guys from the 60s who somehow is still here and still cool. And he ordered these glasses. And when they arrived and he put them on, he was like, I thought they'd be cooler. So he reordered them in red. And then I took them and had my lenses put in. And so I can't use virtual backgrounds, right? This is a real brick wall. You'll never see me use a virtual background because you can always see the real background through the edge of the glasses. They just don't work for me. So there you go. All right. Macruncher, do you have any plans to set up a Discord server Speedify users can help each other? If you want help with this, I'd be happy to help. How interested are you guys in that? We set up a Discord server and then we didn't take it seriously.
And we set it up more with the intent of making it about our live streams than a support channel.
But we could do whatever. It's ours, right? Daniel ZH, yeah, make a Discord server, please. You like that? Yeah. So right now the support team is probably not there. Yes. So we'll talk about it. Right. You had your issue, Daniel, basically 15 minutes after support closed for the day, and so you were the first thing we fixed when we returned to work in the morning. And I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right, people who... Okay, let's ban Edward. I tried to be friendly. All right. So, I think we're going to call it and pop this guy back on. And we're going to disappear here. Thanks, everybody. We're just going to leave the stream on. So, talk to you later. Drop comments.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it to RTMP also, so it's more HD.